Shabbat Shalom to everyone sitting in our sanctuary. Shabbat Shalom to everyone sitting at home. When I was a little kid, this is a Canadian show, but I don't know if any of you maybe have seen it, but there was a show called Mr. Dress Up. It's kind of like Mr. Rogers, but Mr. Dress Up had a puppet, and the puppet had red hair and freckles, and the puppet's name was Casey, and I had red hair and freckles, and my name was Tracy. And I used to sit on my end of the TV, and I used to think that Mr. Dress Up was always welcoming me when he came onto the show. And so for all of you out there in TV land or screen land, we are all together, and I'm in the room with every single one of you. So this Shabbat marks both Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of song named after this week's Torah portion, Beshalach, when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, and the commemoration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. As Rabbi Serkman likes to say, this Torah portion was meant for this weekend. It could not be more fortuitous, celebrating faith for a better world through music and marching and prayer and action. The Israelites took the ultimate leap of faith as they leapt into the waters of the Red Sea, hopeful for a world of freedom on the other side. MLK Jr.'s deep-rooted faith that was the foundation of his freedom marches. Sometimes on our life's journey, we encounter obstacles. We are taken on a path that is unexpected, and we learn how to navigate and recenter ourselves. Tonight is that kind of Shabbat. COVID is our obstacle, but we keep going, knowing that we will be back with our straight gate brothers and sisters in the spring. Tonight we remember MLK and his fight for freedom, and tonight we will remember our ancestors and their road to freedom. Ozi v'zimrat Yah, words that actually come straight from this week's Torah portion. My strength and the song of God will be my salvation. The Israelites had faith that their communal strength, balanced with God's protection, would carry them to the other side. Wherever you are, join me. Ozi v'zimrat Yah, vayhi li lishua. Ozi v'zimrat Yah, vayhi li Oh, we didn't designate any? Well, let's have Adrian, would you like to come up and light the candles for us? We hope you're lighting candles at home too, bringing in Shabbat light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav, b'tzivanu lehalig ner shel We rise together as we join in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. B'Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemekra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'acharta, Be'otanu kidashta, Mikol ha'anim, V'shabbat kodshecha, Be'ahava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. Taking a seat. This is on. That's why there's so much feedback. We are joining in Kabbalat Shabbat, beginning on page 2. Psalm 95. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, l'Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, nahariya, yai lai 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 lai, litzur yishenu, yai lai 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 lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, l'Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, nahariya, yai lai 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 lai, litzur yishenu, yai lai 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 lai. For all of God's wonder and all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, l'Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, nahariya, yai lai 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 lai, litzur yishenu, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. This next setting of Shiru Hallelujah was done, I think Cantor Laurie Corson arranged it a long time ago. It was done with the Straight Gate Church for years and years. We're bringing it back out. I hope you're singing along. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shechadash, I will sing to God a new song. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shechadash, I will sing to God a new song. Shiru, I will sing to God a new song. Shiru, I will sing to God a new song. Sing to Adonai a new song. Shiru l'Adonai shechadash. Sing to Adonai the whole earth. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shechadash. I will sing to God a new song. Shiru l'Adonai, shiru shechadash. I will sing to God a new song. Shiru l'Adonai, baruch hu shemo, bazrum miyom. Yeshua tov.
Shabbat Shalom. On April 19th, 1967, at the New Covenant Baptist Church in Chicago, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. offered a Sunday sermon entitled "The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life." In a parallel paradigm to many of our rabbinic teachings, Dr. King advised his parishioners that morning that, quote, "If life itself is to be complete, it must be three-dimensional." The three dimensions, he taught, of any complete life to which we can fitly give the words of this text: length, breadth, and height. Now, the length of life, as we shall use it here, he said, is the inward connection for one's own welfare. The breadth of life is the outward concern for the welfare of others. And the height of life is the upward reach for God. These were King's words. But so too is the three-dimensionality of prayer. We reach inward towards our deepest yearnings. We reach outward in solidarity and support with our community. And of course, we reach upwards, aspiring to divine connection. So having warmed up our voices and our spirits through Kabbalat Shabbat, we're ready now to truly pray, joining our voices together as we seek that sense of life's completeness as articulated by Dr. King. We rise together for Baruch Hu.
Yai, lai, ya, lai, lai, yai, la, lai, 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 lai.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשיתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We are, each one of us, on a journey. Our lives from the moment of birth until the moment that we die are made up of journeys. Sometimes they seem like pretty clear-cut paths. No obstacles, beauty everywhere we look, our sight line unobstructed, allowing us to see everything around us. Other times the journey is long and hard, clouded by a shroud of darkness, impossible to see clarity and beauty. For sure, we don't always end up going where we thought we were going. But we go anyway, knowing we're not always meant to understand it. In the midst of the craziness of this world, and in spite of our deep fears, we manage to take one step at a time. That is not to say that sometimes that fear is paralyzing and we can't seem to move. But somehow, at some point, we find the courage and we continue. Each step finds the next one, and we find our grounding, and we continue, perhaps becoming a new version of ourselves, a new way of being in the world, or unbecoming a version of ourselves in an effort to change, become who we were meant to be. What I especially love about the text of Micha Mocha, a text that recalls our ancestors journeying from a harsh but familiar way of existence to the unknown, is that it celebrates that crossing with song and dance. It propels them to the other side. It gives them strength to endure their new way of life. How many of us do that? How many of us have made a difficult crossing into new and uncharted territory and stopped to celebrate, to reflect on the moment, even with song and dance? This is why Micha Mocha is such powerful liturgy and why so many songwriters have set it to music. It reminds us to celebrate the steps we take each and every day in an effort to recreate ourselves. It reminds us that we are not alone in these efforts. We follow in the footsteps of our ancestors. It acknowledges those moments of miracles. The music is varied. Some settings inspire joyful, upbeat music, calling for timbrels and dancing, a pouring out of joyful emotions. Others inspire quite quiet awe at the enormity of it all and the power that we have to take that leap of faith. Tonight I offer you two settings, very different settings. One that captures joy and one that captures awe. So if you're in your home right now, eating dinner or washing dishes or having a schnapps, I'm going to ask you to stop and take this moment to participate in this communal celebration of all of our crossings. We begin with a piece by Bonya Shore. This piece captures the mystery and the awe at the miracles that our ancestors felt.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha ne'edor ba'kodesh, norot tehilot u'sefelen, malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed.
And this next piece is pure joy. I can just see Yvette Gorovich right now in her kitchen about to get her pots and pans out, dancing around the kitchen. I hope you will join her.
And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she has planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she praised and sang in might. We've just ring through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, la, lai, lai, ya, la, lai, la, lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, norati lo dosefele, norati lo dosefele. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai, la, lai. Yai, la, lai, lai, ya, la, lai, la, lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, norati lo dosefele, norati lo dosefele.
My favorite. I think my Miriam thinks Debbie Friedman actually wrote that song for her, but it makes my heart happy. As we prepare for silent prayer, one more reflection from Dr. King. Upon receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964, Dr. King shared these words at the Oslo ceremony. I accept this award today with an abiding faith in America and an audacious faith in the future of mankind. I refuse to accept despair as the final response to the ambiguities of history. I refuse to accept the idea that the isness of man's present nature makes him morally incapable of reaching up to the eternal oughtness that forever confronts him. This moment of silent prayer, this Shabbat especially, invites us to lean into Dr. King's message, to take a few quiet moments of reflection, perhaps affirming our own audacious faith in God or humanity in the face of the present moment's challenges, and recognizing what is in ourselves, our lives, our world, and more importantly, envisioning what ought to change, strengthening our resolve to be a part of that transformation. We rise for our tefillah.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yeah, once you, yeah.
Two tested individuals twice in the same day. Just to note, we're not with Straight Gate Church. However, we feel connected. We're going to be for Freedom Shabbat on the 22nd of April. But this is the perfect portion. I'm glad you invoked Rabbi Serkman's words at the beginning for this day. It is the Song of the Sea. And we're going to read it in a different way today. We're going to take the Torah out. If you saw, as I think thousands of people do every week, the weekly video that Cantor and I made, it's a unique portion. Looks like waves, maybe bricks, but it is a portion that is the triumph of God the warrior. I was speaking to our rabbinic intern this morning and doing our weekly that we do every other week because we never have time. And she said, yeah, you know, last week I translated Song of the Sea for the first time, like from the Hebrew. She said, wow, it's like all about war. I said, yep. It's about Israel making it to the other side because God throws the chariots of Egypt into the sea and makes sure the wheels lock. It's pretty bloodthirsty and pretty violent. It's why the angels on high, when they start to sing during the Seder, are stopped by God that says, my children are drowning in the sea, and you want to sing songs? The only song we can sing was the same song Israel sang, Moses and Miriam leading the people in the Song of the Sea. But we're going to translate it a different way, not with words of war, but with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's words of peace. I picked 5 little snippets that'll go in between the verses. I think they elucidate the hope in the song that still sings out to us.
Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kdushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
I don't know where to put this. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Want to hold this for me?
Yeah, I would love that.
אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני ויאמרו לאמור השירה לאדוני כי גאו גאה סוס ורוכבו ברמה וים עוזי וזמרתיה ויהי לי לישועה זה אלי ויונביהו אלוהי אבי וירממנו.
Let us realize as we struggle, feeling alone, God struggles with us. He is leading us out of a bewildering Egypt, through a bleak and desolate wilderness, toward a bright and glittering promised land. This faith can give us courage to face uncertainty and give our tired feet new strength as we continue our forward stride toward the city of freedom.
Adonai ish milchama, Adonai shemo, Markevot paro, v'chelo yara vayam, umivchar sheloshav tu'u vayam suf.
Whenever Pharaoh wanted to prolong the period of slavery in Egypt, he had a favorite formula. He kept the slaves fighting amongst themselves. But whenever the slaves get together, he cannot hold the slaves in servitude. When the slaves get together, that's the beginning of getting out of slavery.
Tehomot yechasimu yardu v'imsolot kemo aven. Yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach, Yemincha Adonai tirat oyev.
Some of us will get scarred up, but we shall overcome. Some may even face physical death, but if it's the price we pay for our children to live a life free from psychological death, nothing can be more moral. We'll transform the jails from dungeons of shame to havens of human dignity. Because we believe, we shall overcome.
Uvrov geoncha teharos kamecha, tishalach arnecha yochlemu kakash kakash. Uvruach apecha ne'ermo mayim, nitzeu kemoned nozalim, kafa'u tehomot belev yam.
Our goal is freedom. We've come to the day when a piece of freedom is not enough for us as human beings, nor for the nation of which we're a part. We've been given pieces, but unlike bread, a piece of liberty no longer suffices. Freedom's like life. You cannot be given life in installments. You cannot be given breath but no body, a heart but no blood vessels. Freedom is one thing. You have it all, or you're not free.
Amar oyev, erdof asig achalev shalal, timleu mu nafshi, aro charbi torishimu yadi. Nashavta veruchacha kisamu yam, צללו כאפרים במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלך.
When Moses led the children of Israel from slavery of Egypt to freedom of the promised land, he discovered that slaves do not always welcome their deliverers. They prefer the flesh pots of Egypt to the ordeals of emancipation. But that is not the way out. At these times, we have to know that the Lord is a God of justice. When slumbering giants of injustice emerge, we need to know there is a power that can cut them down. When days grow dark and nights grow dreary, we need to be thankful that our God combines love and justice, which will lead us through the darkest of valleys, the raging seas, and into the sunlight path of hope.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We're going to do a Hagbah? We can do a joint Hagbah.
We can do Mishaberach with the words.
Oh, we can do Shabbat with it open.
Yeah.
That would be lovely.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. We're just working things out. With the text in front of us, if you can rise in your place, if you can rise at home, if you can't rise, rise in spirit. It's wonderful and okay. If you can join hands with somebody with whom you share a home, know that our hearts break for so many in this world who struggle. Especially our hearts are with the victims of the Marshall wildfire in Boulder and its suburbs, where Yael Green, our youth engagement coordinator, comes from, where her dad's the rabbi. Many homes were lost totally. Among them are former members, the Spielbergers, just left a year and a half ago to move there. We especially call to mind the family of Dara Kolodner and Abdel Salim, along with their kids Noah and Izzy, who lost their home. We hope they know that our care is there, along with our heartfelt hope. To those names, we link so many in our congregational family who seek to be whole. Mishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Ve'imotenu Sarah Kerachov Leah. May the one who blessed our mothers and fathers before us bring strength to those who struggle against sickness, those who so long to be healed. Calling to mind Jeannie Grumet, Rhea and Marvin Weiss, Rabbi Fred Green, Nancy Hanley, Neil Borden, Esther Schraga, Marlo Wiggins, Carol Slatkus, Dick Stone, Alan Bogner, Harriet Lipton, Hannah Stampleman, Enid Elton, Barney Davis, Lori Weinberg, Stanley Tereski, Bob Glassman, Marty Feldner, Andy Rosenthal, Sandy Warshaw, Avraham Yochanan Dovlesser, Louis Siegel, Nate Moskowitz, Ari Fox, Keith Schoen, June Foreman, Jody Kahn, Joseph Spinelli, Paul Wiggins, Susie Wolfson, Antonia Nelita Chipola, Harriet Katz, Pat Ryan, Sam Phillip, Jerry Gallner, Ian Spear, Norton Blumberg, Terry Rossman, Julie Ross, Deb Margolin, Paul Stampleman, Scott Siegel, Greg Kellner, Daniel Foley, George Simonoff, Paul Millman, and Tiffany Thrower. Anyone here or at home add a name in hopes of healing? If so, say that name now aloud.
Join me.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Now you can lift it up.
Oh, gee, thanks. You gonna dress?
V'zot Torah aser Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Ya la lay 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 lay, la la lay 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 lay, ya la lay 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 lay. Ya lay lay lay, ya la lay 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 lay, ya lay la lay lay la lay lay. Ya la lay 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 lay, ya la lay 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 lay, ya la lay 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 lay. Ya lay lay lay, la la lay 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 lay.
Come right in.
Ya lay la lay lay la lay lay.
I think we should do that.
Our concluding section is on a page.
Do you have page numbers?
I don't have a page number.
I don't have page numbers either.
But it says Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula li'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
The Reverend Dr. King shared words, I think it was his second to last sermon that you may see on that same Aleinu page. And he talked about the kind of funeral he wanted. He didn't want it to be too long. He concluded by saying, I'd like someone to mention that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. I'd like for somebody to say that that day Martin Luther King Jr. tried to love somebody. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try to feed the hungry. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try in my life to clothe those who were naked. I want you to say that I tried to love and serve humanity. I just want to leave a committed life behind. Many of us here are here for Yortsites. Yortzite is a precious thing. We're thinking about next year incorporating that into our congregational covenant theme and helping people understand the poignancy and precious gift to us of celebrating the anniversary of death. I know, Cheryl, you're remembering your mom, 1 year. How long has Leo been gone, Mike? Amazing. And still here. Alice Oster, right? Alice Oster's life story is quite amazing itself. That she has legacy of generations from where she came from, right? The midst of the Shoah. Anybody else observing on your side? Me. My father-in-law, Baynard Paul, was the most generous man I ever met. He worked his whole life barely graduating high school, maybe getting a GED later, serving in the Korean War, coming back and inventing a container that would haul paper away, waste paper, seeing it in Korea and figuring out how to do it, and created what became the largest waste paper supply recycling firm, company in Massachusetts, then New England. And what did he do with that wealth? He made sure he sent all 16 grade kids to college. The generosity is beyond. What he loved most was being with family. He's gone, I think, 2 more years than Susan. His family is a tribute to his legacy, as I'm sure yours are as well. And so what we remember is the committed life our loved ones leave behind. That's the gift that Yahrzeit brings back to life. We read this week especially the Yahrzeits of Helen Beck, Saul Flegel, inimitable Barbara Cronin, Ian Zeiler, Laura Cronin, Samuel Michnick, Morris B. Schultz, Rosie Press, Leo Reichgott, Betty Kaufman, Alice Oster, Philip Medwick, Stuart Kaufman, Teresa Schoen, Rose G. Mayer, David Rappaport, Ann Alvarez, Selma Margolin, Gita Bagelman, Jolene Odens, Pauline Spiegel, Gladys Strasberg Lindy, Angelina Blockton, Matthias Labiner, Lisa Flaxman, Helen Winter Snyder, Martin B. Manny, Diane Bloom, Joseph Cole, Sheila Auslander, Harold Shulkin, Martin Dim, Helen Ross, Thomas Iskevitz, Benjamin Jacobson, Constance Lieber, Florence Robinson, Percy Goldman, Maurice Klein, Joseph Feldman, Philip Schub, Morris Getz, Lester Golden, Fanny Goldenstein, Jesse Green, Ruth Cohn-Lesser, Baynard Paul, Nancy Corson, and Patricia Earp. Anyone here add a name in sacred remembrance? To their names we link 5 who in the past 30 days, Shloshim, have been laid to their eternal rest. Fran Dorff, mother of our member Rachel Gottler, Esther Canterman, mother of Michael, Arnie Turtz, husband of Dossie, father of Lisa, Beth, and John, Roberta Ross, mother of Sabrina Fiddleman, and Jean Heller, mother of Betty, Nancy, and Paul. The memories of all of them are with us. We join, praising that committed life and the love that still lives in words of Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yahei shmei rabba mivorach le'olam olmei maya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shmei dekudsha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be our blessing. Amen. Please be seated.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much, Rabbi Serkman, Rabbi Frankel, Cantor Schur, Jonathan, Sam, and Samuel for a beautiful service and an inspiration to start this MLK weekend. Continuing on with our weekend, tomorrow morning we have Hevra on Zoom at 9. We have musical Shabbat at 10:30 on Zoom. And our Zoom trifecta is a wonderful Havdalah service tomorrow at 5 p.m., along with a Tu B'Shvat Seder. If you go to register online, you'll see all the fruits of the trees to put on your Seder plate. So please join us for that. And this coming week, Rabbi Serkman continues with his series of Coming Home teachings, The Journey of Judaism, 7:30 live or on Zoom. So looking forward to that as well. Stay warm and Shabbat Shalom.
A little intro to the song?
Yeah, do it.
But you should come in. You can, it's fine. How many people here have heard "We Shall Overcome"? Know that it was written in the early 1900s and used first. Why? For the union tobacco workers who were striking, trying to earn their rights, and just later adopted and taught to this young singer who ran this folk singing company called Pete Seeger. On March 15th, 1965, President Lyndon Johnson appeared before Congress, and 70 million Americans watching on TV, 70 million in those days was about, I think, 28 or 9%, calling for legislation that would ensure every citizen the right to vote. He said, "It is the effort of the American Negroes to secure for themselves the full blessings of American life." Johnson declared in the speech, "Their cause must be our cause, too, because it's not just Negroes, but really it is all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice, and we shall overcome." There may have been some who, in the civil rights movement, who felt that Johnson co-opted the phrase, but John Lewis watched the speech that night with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. About the president, Lewis would later write, his were the words of a statesman, and more, they were the words of a poet, adding, Dr. King must have agreed he wiped away a tear at the point where Johnson said the words, "We shall overcome." How unthinkable that over 55 years after that speech Johnson gave, we still need to stand strong against some who would deny every citizen of our country an unobstructed right to vote, persisting in the prejudice that threatens this union. More than the spiritual adopted by the civil rights movement of the 60s, this song is our summons today to continue to work together to make real that dream, a dream still deferred. Dr. King's legacy deserves nothing less. We rise together.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my
Shabbat Shalom.